So I found this guy 3 days ago, and he was on the concrete. I thought he was suffering burns. I have to keep propping him up because since I found him, he falls over completely. When I found him, he was falling over, of course. He looked like wrinkly in here. He still does. And I figured he was burning on the concrete because here in Oklahoma it is still in the high 80s at the beginning of October. And so it's hard for him to sit up. Anyway, I gave him a little bath, and that kind of really brought him to. I figured he was burning and baking in the sun out there. This is a spoon. I'm feeding him. Well, I'll explain in a minute what I'm feeding him because it's odd. So anyway, I gave him a bath thinking he had been baking in the sun, trying to rehydrate him because I could tell he was dehydrated. His whole body was wrinkly, it still is, and earlier today he was knocking on death's door. He is 1,000 times better. I mean, he could hardly even move a little toe. He couldn't move his head, anything. Like I said, I've had him 3 days, and he hadn't eaten anything until about 6 hours ago. And the first day, I grabbed every leaf around him and put it in a container with him. And the next morning, I noticed he hadn't eaten a thing. And any other caterpillars I've had, they poop a lot. He's never pooped, not that I have seen. And this guy is big. I would be able to find it. Anyway, I looked, and I think it's a Polyphemus moth, or maybe more likely a Luna moth. Either way, they're really cool. Silk moths. Their head is kind of alien ET-like. He's got a messy face. I'll wipe it real fast. Say hi to the camera. He is very responsive to touch and talk. He'll turn and look at you while you're talking. He loves his head rubbed. Little baths. Yeah. He moves around, which you're supposed to tuck their head in when they're scared, but he never has. But he could be too weak to do that. But he knows I'm helping him. Anyway, so the second day, I saw he hadn't eaten any leaves, and I researched, and I had several leaves that I grabbed from the yard I found him in. He didn't eat a single one, so I looked up what he was and found out they eat maple and oak. Oh, goodness, baby. Hold on, I'll turn you the other way. I hate turning him because he's so squishy. But see how dehydrated he is. It's so sad. But literally all this part today, these 4 sections were small and sunken around, and he was going to die. I'll explain what's wrong with him, why he was dying. As you can see, I'm feeding him off a spoon. That has something to do with it. Back to the leaves. He was supposed to be eating maple and oak. I had those for him, and he didn't eat. And yesterday, I held the leaf up to his mouth, and he just wasn't eating. And I held it again, and I held it again, and I'm like, okay, he's still kicking. He's, maybe he's ready to cocoon. But he wasn't. He's always falling on his side, like he is starting to do now. Well, you see, he's about to roll over. He can't hold himself up. He's got such a crazy, scary looking face, but he's the sweetest little deer. Anyway, so today, like I said, after I held the leaves up, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I held it at a very soft part. I straightened the edge so I could see if he nibbled any bit, and he couldn't. He really, really wanted to, but he just couldn't. And so by the end of yesterday, I couldn't get him to eat and went to bed. Today, he woke up and he was knocking on death's door. I tried, and then I found silk moths, whatever classification he is, loves mulberry, and I happen to have a few mulberry trees in the back. So I cut down the baby leaves and others. I separated all the veins. You can tell I am an extreme animal lover. It is 12:14 and I'm feeding this guy by spoon every hour. And I'm going to have to wake up in the middle of the night to feed him. They seem to be really amazing moths. So I want him to live. It doesn't matter if he were a horribly ugly, invasive thing. I would still try and save it. I love his little feet moving. It's like a little baby nursing when he's sucking the juice. Anyway, what is wrong with him is I have found it appears that his little pinchers that would cut the leaves. Oops, sorry, dude. My arm itched. His little pinchers would cut the leaves. And right there and there, are not there. They're broken off. They're just little nubs, and he cannot bite the leaves. So I have been mincing away mulberry leaves. Sorry, I'll get him back into focus. I don't know what happened. That's way off. So anyway, you see when I turn him how and squishy he is. He's so dehydrated. And today, just an hour ago, I didn't think he would live, and I still kept trying, and the progress he has made in this hour, like, he could not even move a little leg, let alone his head. Now he's wiggling all of his legs, and I mean little leg, these, he could not move any of them. So anyway, this is minced leaves. I tried cutting them down as small as I could get, and they were still too big. And I finally let them dry and crushed them and rubbed them. Not bad. Anyway, I let them dry and rubbed through a strainer, and they got small enough. And there is a mess of leaves that I have been chopping at. and then mixing with water so he could drink, and then that wasn't good enough, so I had to get more with water. It's been a long day with him, and I think he's gonna make it. I really, really do. An hour ago, I didn't, but like, it's amazing how much he's plumped up, and he still is. I know this looks like a big fat caterpillar, but there's wrinkles in here and all dehydration. He should be a lot plumper. And I've seen, and that's one reason too I can't tell if he is a Polyphemus moth, which is a very large moth, or a Luna moth, which is also a decent size, but smaller. But either way, they're gorgeous, and no matter what, like, I've raised caterpillars before, but his interaction, maybe it's because he's so big that I can see his face and the reaction he makes, but you know, he's got a huge personality, and you can't tell because he's just munching away, or you can't tell that he is, but his little mouth's moving. Well, you can kind of see the leaves kind of move around it.